Welcome back to another episode of Six Sided. Get that like button hit. Make sure you are subscribing, bell notifications, all the admin. Just get it done so you can sit down and relax. You can relax for the next 90 minutes or so as we're talking about Arsenal's handbrake finally being taken off. Are they now truly the favourites to win the English Premier League? We're looking ahead at Liverpool versus Chelsea, a game that I think is must win for both clubs because both fan bases feel like they're on the edge. They're right on the edge right now. They really, really are. Plus, Oliver Glasner reportedly interested in the Manchester United job. But we've got a big question for you all today. If he is smart, if he is stupid, would he take the job? If he is smart, would he wait until the end of the season to see what else might come his way? Of course, we want to get your views and we want to get your opinions on these topics as well. So look forward to reading your comments back. We've got a brilliant panel for you tonight. Few old faces back. Roms is with us. Big Liverpool fan. Thanks for coming back on the show, my friend. Big Dan is with us. Dan is big. He's about 6'6". He's an absolute yeti, although he looks tiny on camera. He's one of those interesting people who looks tiny on camera, massif in real life. Double A, on the other hand, looks very, very tall, but he's 4'8". No, I'm joking. He's not. Welcome back to the show, Double A.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm not far off. So yeah, there you go.
And
I'm glad.
Sorry.
I'm glad you didn't say I was a United fan because I'm not. I'm a football fan these days.
Football fan, yes. Same as I'm on loan at Arsenal. You're a football fan now. It's all good. I think people understand the pain and problems that we're going through. Judge Mo is with us, normally on Straight Facts, but he's on a top 6 show for the first time in 12 months. So back by popular demand, as you can see, and making her debut on the Football Terrace and the top 6 show tonight is Laura Kirk-Francis, aka Charlotte Tilbury, TikTok star extraordinaire. Welcome to the Terrace, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'll take Charlotte Tilbury. If anyone doesn't know who that is, look her up, and you'll see basically a picture of me in about 30 years' time, or maybe 20 years' time. We'll see.
Depends on the sunbeds. You know, I always think it depends on the sunbeds, what we do. But thank you very much for being here. And gents, great to have you all back on. I actually haven't had any of you on this show for probably a couple of months, if not more, like as individuals. So some really good, fresh opinions tonight on these subjects. Alex, which one is Laura? I love what the modern day world is doing. We're not allowed to assume anymore, are we? Laura is in, as you will all see it, the bottom right corner with the strawberry blonde hair. There, that lady there.
It's ginger. It's Terry. It's ginger. It's fine. You can say ginger. It's ginger.
I don't know the banned words anymore. I'm so old. I don't know what is and isn't acceptable. Do you know what I mean? So it's new things get you banned all the time. But there we go. Mo Money. Who do you owe money to now, Mo?
I don't owe anybody any money, broski.
Not what I hear. If you can't pay, they'll take it away. It's a great show. Do you remember when Neil Ruddock was on that? Do you ever watch that episode where Neil Ruddock was on that Bailey show on TV and they turn up at his house to take it? Hilarious. Go find it. Go find it.
I thought you meant Razor showed up at the people's front doors.
Yeah, that's
he had stuff being repossessed. And it was just one of those moments where I don't know if he was skinned. A lot of those footballers in that generation are, or whether he just thought, I'm not going to pay something. I think he ended up paying it on the show. But it was just a madness. It was like Neil Ruddock having his TV repossessed for like you know, you get those parking fines for 90 quid, but if you don't pay them, they end up being like $2,000. It was something like that. So, yeah, crazy. Great
I'll just say, I'll tell you what, though, a show like that with Razor Ruddock, Julian Dix, and Vinnie Jones turning up to people's houses trying to take stuff would be phenomenal. I would watch that consistently.
It'd be good.
It was.
It'd be very, very good indeed. You know, Channel 5, the Channel 5, 5 p.m. at night type show, isn't it? It's right there in that window.
Channel 5 written all over it, absolutely.
Oh, hang on a minute. Someone just told me to go check out David Ornstein. Said he's tweeted. Oh.
He's excited. He's excited that Laura's there as well.
Well, I am. It's good news for Alisson. Alisson is likely to return to Liverpool after the November international break. So 6 weeks plus out for Alisson for you boys. And it's sticky times at the minute, isn't it? It's sticky times at the minute for Liverpool. It's weird because only 2 defeats on the bounce, but it feels like there's a lot of Carragher's out there doing his speeches about how you're not a top team. Some fans are turning on Slot. Now your goalkeeper's out. How you feeling about things, Roms?
I've seen what you've done here. You've invited me after 2 back-to-back losses. I see what you've done here. I'm joking. I know I could message you to come on most times, but look, we're in an era where 2 defeats is doom and gloom. You lot have seen it yourself. Slot out, Liverpool this, they're not going to win the league. Everyone's losing their head. Look, when you're favourites and you've spent the money we've spent, there's going to be reactions like this. Not personally, not for myself, but the fan base is in meltdown. I'd say the majority are saying, we might even not finish top 4 now. Slot's out of his depth. Now he's brought his own players in. Can he deal with them? And I just say to everyone, just calm down. Just calm down. If we lose to Chelsea, then maybe the panic station will kick in. But we just need to find a balance. I think that's the main thing, because people are saying you spent this amount of money on Wirtz and Isak, and none of them have really hit the ground running. I mean, Isak's only started 1 Premier League game, by the way. And I know you lot might see this as an excuse. I know we paid the money for him. He still needs to get to full fitness. And I do believe he scores at the weekend. That's a little early prediction. I think he'll open his account in the Premier League. Wirtz, we've all seen, whatever you want to say, 008, all of these James Bond stuff. That's fine. I've not got no worries about him. The ability's there, and I genuinely believe he'll eventually come good. But
Kai Havertz had the ability. Kai Havertz had the ability. He was one of the most bright shining stars in Germany. Bayern Leverkusen, back-to-back double digits, GA, the new upcoming star for Germany as well. I'm not saying Wirtz will be that.
Yeah.
But that thing that Liverpool fans keep saying, Chelsea fans keep telling us year after year, he'll come good. He'll come good. He was amazing. He was amazing at Germany. This is the next German star. This is the next Muller. And then later they were doing parties at Stamford Bridge after sending him to Arsenal. So,
but then
that thing about that, bro, the talent is there. Undeniable, Roms. Undeniable, right? So was Kai Havertz. Bro, you go back to 2020 and 2019. Kai Havertz was spoken about as the next big thing in Germany. The next big thing.
He was.
Right? And it didn't work out for him,
every
right?
club wanted him, including ours. Klopp wanted him. Every club under the sun wanted him. But let me ask you this, Mo, right?
Yeah,
and I know at the moment it's doom and gloom because he lost 2 back-to-back games.
It's not doom and gloom, by the way. It's not because of these 2 games.
He was coming into a better situation. He was coming into a better team. Havertz at the time or Wirtz now?
Wirtz.
There you go. So I think eventually...
It's actually worse. You're making it worse. You're kind of making it worse.
I'm not making it worse.
You're kind of making it worse.
There's more confidence that he'll get better in our team. Havertz was going into a Chelsea team that didn't really have a fire in attack. Yes, they won the Champions League. I'll give them that. But he was still playing with worse players, in my opinion. For me, it's just a balance issue. It's more on Slot than it is on Wirtz. Yes, he needs to put up numbers. We know he cost that money. And there's never grace in period when you broke the British transfer record. I believe once certain players go back into a position, I think Wirtz will be fine. I'm not too worried
about certain players. Can you tell me what certain players, please?
I'm going to be honest. McAllister is my favorite midfielder, but he has to be dropped for the time being. Him and Wirtz at the moment, for me, can't play in that midfield three. I think Szoboszlai needs to go back in. He's been our best right back, but he needs to go back into the midfield three.
Okay. So you said certain players go to their positions. What are the players that you think that will make Wirtz click?
I think Szoboszlai back in the midfield will provide more balance. I even think sometimes Wirtz even playing on the left. I know we signed him as a 10, but I think if you see his heat map and you've seen where he's operated for Leverkusen, a lot of his best stuff has come. Carragher even did a section on it. Right. A lot of his best stuff has come on the kind of left-hand side. And I think even when you saw I thought Terry was speaking to me.
No, I just think I've heard something disgusting in my house. Hang on.
What?
I thought he was comparing Wirtz to Jackson, actually, and then
same. I was like, oh, this is a hot take.
Wow.
There
we go.
Wow. Okay.
It's insane. But what's the game he started on the left again?
And he was shit.
On the left? No, I wouldn't go as far to say it was shit. Even the Atletico Madrid game when he got put on the left, I was at the game. He was starting to link.
Can you just hang on? Sorry, guys. I need to out this boy. Can you just tell them what disgusting word you just said in my house?
Mummy said it.
What word?
My mum said it.
What word?
Come on, Eagle.
Now get out of here, you Crystal Palace mugs. Get out of my office.
Just say that.
Get out. I don't want adoption times. Out we go. Out we go. Bye-bye. Love yous, but you can't be saying Eagles in my ass. Well, off your pop. See that, baby.
Is she a Palace fan?
Yeah, that is part of Surrey, like all her family of Palace. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they just scored.
There's been another discussion within our fan base to maybe drop Wirtz. I don't subscribe to that notion. I'm sorry, if you pay that amount of money, you have to find a way for him to fit in the team. Some are saying maybe to take him out the team so we steady the ship for the time being. I don't personally agree with that. I still think he needs to play because I think you can play a player into good form. And do you know what? I do think, and rivals have to do what rivals have to do. I do think people are over-exaggerating. I think the word's been underwhelming for him, but he's not been as bad as people said in every game. For example, the Galatasaray game, I don't know if you lot watched the 90 minutes. For me, was probably one of our better players. He wasn't as bad as people want about. Yes, he's not got the goal and assist, and that's what we've paid the money for. He does need to get a goal assist. I'm not excusing that. Has he been underwhelming? Yes. But I think first half of Atletico Madrid, he played well. The Galatasaray game, I think he played well. But everyone just watches the game. He didn't score an assist. Yeah, he had a bad game.
Okay.
Whatever makes you guys sleep well at night, it's fine. Whatever makes you guys sleep well at night, it's okay. It's fine.
Let me jump in a second. Laura, do you think Wirtz is getting an easier ride than previous 80, 90, 100 million pound players, whether it be from his own fans, rivals, and or the media? Do you think he's getting it? You may agree that he's getting it easier and it's the right thing to do, but do you think he's getting an easier ride than, say, a Paul Pogba got or a Harry Maguire or Jack Grealish?
I think he is, but I think some of that is down to the sort of slightly more macro narrative of how Liverpool are doing. So he's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. Like everyone's talking about last minute goals, obviously the Isak saga. I will say multiple times that I don't think Gyökeres is up to speed yet. So I can't look at Wirtz and be like, well, we can't write him off in the same. That would be hypocritical to me. So no, I don't think he's landed with the bang that you'd expect from a player that costs that much money. But at the same time, Gyökeres was half that. So I think he's he's kind of flown under the radar a little bit. I think if he doesn't start to pick up in the next couple of games, I think there'll be a lot more noise around it. But I don't think it's a disaster just yet. I think there are other problems like we've spoken about with Liverpool in terms of their defensive structure, their midfields. Like neither Gravenberch or McAllister can really kind of tuck in when the fullbacks go forward. So I basically think Liverpool have bigger problems. Wirtz will come good, but he's kind of stuck in under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that. When you've got a new player that isn't maybe firing on all cylinders at your own club, it is kind of hard to go in. I actually agree with people writing him off too early is crazy because of how I defended United players in the past. But I will also say, Gyökeres seems to get more attention from the media than Wirtz does, and he's actually scored some goals and had some really good performances. I do find it interesting in that regard. In terms of this weekend, we have the first...
Oh, they're dry. You keep defending Grealish for 2 years. It's fine. It's fine.
I didn't defend Grealish for 2 years.
2 years you did.
That's not true. That is...
In the first year, you said he was embedded. In the second year, in the triple season, you said he is part of the team.
Go back. No, see, do you know how you know you're wrong? I'm not even going to say it. Chat that have been watching me for years.
Yes.
What did I call Jack Grealish for 2 years in the Manchester City squad? We'll wait for the first comment to come in. Hopefully my audience don't let me down here. What was my nickname for Jack Grealish?
It's your audience.
Because I want the audience to prove a point here. I used to call him a name because I said he was part of the squad, but he wasn't influential and he's picking up winners. Can someone please write the name? I hope they remember. Okay. There we go. Luke Chadwick. I used to call him Luke Chadwick because he was but better looking. I said that he was just part of a team that was just as good without him. So I did not back him. Thank you all, people. Thank you to my lovely audience for having my back. Thank you all. Mo exposed there with his agendas. But my first fiction or fact question of the day, and I'm going to go to Dan first on this, as he is Chelsea. Fiction or fact? Chelsea will add more misery to Liverpool this weekend. Slot side are heading for a third straight defeat.
I don't want it to be true, but I would like it to be true, but I don't think it will be. So I'll have to say fiction on that one, Terry. I've been a little bit underwhelmed with Chelsea in recent weeks, and I just don't think they'll have enough to beat Liverpool, whether they're on form or not.
No confidence in your team getting a home win against Liverpool? None?
Do you know what? I think the only confidence I'll have is a draw, maybe, because I don't think Liverpool won there in 5 years. So maybe a draw, but it's not looking bright at the moment.
You know, I have to agree with Dan because as much as we've not won there in 5 years, I think it was a behind closed doors match, and I think Christensen's got sent off early, and we've gone on to win the game. Thiago had an amazing game that day, but I'm sorry, they have no real recognised centre back. I think Chalobah's suspended, isn't he, Dan?
Yeah, I think it'll be Badashile and Hater at the back. That's what I imagine.
Chimpong?
Yeah, I was going to say,
he was diabolical against Brighton. I'm sorry, as young as he is and as inexperienced
So
as he is,
was I
allowed to
think
make
Hato
mistakes.
at the centre
I
back.
do
was
not want to
great.
see Josh playing against Liverpool. The fact that they can bring on Isak, Ekatike, you've got Gakpo, Salah. It's like it'll be disastrous from Maresca to play Achimpong against them.
Do you know, I hold my club in high regard. There's some fans that saying a draw will be okay because I'm going to assume Arsenal. I know there's nothing's a foregone conclusion, but I'm going to assume Arsenal beat West Ham. I think they do, right? If we was to draw, we'll be level on points. I think they have a slightly better goal difference. I'm not having it. If circumstances were different, if they had a Palmer and they had, I don't know, Colwell fit and they had, sorry, not Reece James, Colwell and Palmer and all their other players that are injured, if they were available and like your Lavias, then you might say, do you know what? Going joint top, going into international break, it's not really too bad. But with the context of it and the injuries they have and the signings we've made, this is a game where Isak has to come alive. He has to see Badashiles and the Hattos and think, hold on, these are two players that have hardly played this season. Let's be honest, Badashile won't be 100% fit. I think he's hardly played any football. Hato's been in and out of the side. Cucurella and Reece James will be a threat to us. They always will. They're two of the best fullbacks in the league. But we have to be winning this game. We can't be going into this game thinking, oh, let's get a draw. We have to win. And Arsenal are looking more stronger than ever. We still need to try and keep our lead as long as possible because we need to be winning this game, honestly. I don't care if Alisson's out. Mamadashvili, we signed him. Me included, a lot of us saying he's one of the best number twos. I know he didn't have the best time at Valencia last season, but he's one of the best number twos about. Ekatike is injured, but you've got a Cheisa that's in the form of his life since he's arrived at the club, which in my opinion should start the game. You've got Salah that can still create something out of nothing. Yes, he started the season, I think, the slowest ever. This is alien for him because normally he will start the season bang on form and he might tail off towards the end, but now it's the reverse. That you could say that's a worry there, but Isak will now get his first Premier League start, I believe. I think it's his first Premier League start. Yeah, it's his first Premier League start because the rest he came on. He needs to be scoring in this game, and I think he will. McAllister, Szoboszlai, and McAllister needs to be dropped for this game, and I play Szoboszlai back in the midfield. I think we need balance because one department Chelsea are strong, and in my opinion, is still the Enzo Caicedo's. I think Lavia is even fit for this game, so he'll probably get the last 20, 30 minutes. I think this game could be won and lost in the midfield. I know it's cliche, but we can't be looking, if we want to win the league, we can't be looking at our understrength Chelsea team saying, yeah, let's take a point. We need to be winning this game. We need to be winning this game 100%.
How do you see it, Double A? Man United beat Chelsea. And I think that says, I know they went down to 10 men, but let's just have, I know that Amram Outers don't like hearing this, but they went down to 10 men because in the opening 5 minutes, we blew them away. We could have scored 2 goals before the red card. They haven't played well at all for the past 5-6 weeks. How can they set up to beat? Because I think they have to maybe win even more than Liverpool do in some regards, because they don't want to be coming back after the international break sitting 10th, 11th in the table, only 8 points. What do you think Chelsea have to do to win? How can you see them getting a victory out of this game?
Well, the pressure's on them, innit? Because obviously it was embarrassing against Brighton. I know it's another sending off, which 2 games back to back doing that is not what you want at all, So at home as well, the crowd's going to be, you hope, behind them. But I know there's some pressure on Maresca. I know some fans are turning on him already. So it's massively important he gets his starting lineup back. Like you say, the defense is massively depleted, which Liverpool will be relishing. But I think João Pedro is key to them getting anything out of the game. I think he has to be bang on form. He has to be serviced, and they have to look to get any success through him. I think Chelsea massive. It's strange, you look at the money they've spent and the players they have, the amount of players they have, and them to be so bare bones defensively, and the injuries they've had is really bad. But I wasn't impressed with him at Old Trafford. Even when we were down to 10 men each, I thought clearly they've got to go and get us now because we just weren't in that game second half at all. And the fact they didn't punish us says a lot about where they maybe are at the moment. And
I think that game in particular against United, I think Maresca had killed any sort of forward options Chelsea had on the pitch.
I couldn't believe it. Right? I couldn't believe he brought
that's
off.
I think that's what annoyed Chelsea fans so much, was because the fact that it did level up and go 10v10, but he'd killed the game 30 seconds after the initial red card. That was like the most frustrating thing in that game.
If you'd have had Neto or Esteban, I think they would have.
Or not even used all your subs to be able to react to that situation occurring, right? But he used them all pretty early. I think he panicked a little bit, and he's kind of owned up to it, which I think is good.
True.
I have to say, first half against Brighton, I was actually pretty impressed with us. It was obviously a poor start from Brighton in that game, but the second half obviously just got away from us, and then we picked up another red card against Benfica, João Pedro. So, there's 3 red cards there in 4 games for Chelsea. And I think the discipline issue is obviously there, whether it's like sort of accidental challenges or not. They need to do better in those situations. But I do think that Liverpool game, Chelsea will spend a lot of time without the ball. I don't know if anyone remembers the game at the end of last season, but I think we were down to like 30% possession. But it was for players like Enzo Fernandez stepping up and strong counter-attacks that allowed us to win that game. So I don't know what
Can
you
I
think,
tell you that
Rob?
honestly, Dan, about this? Can I tell you, for some whatever reason, I don't see a world where Chelsea win the game. Like without Cole Palmer, without the center backs, I don't see the world where Chelsea actually I see a draw, maybe Liverpool win. I think I'll be very surprised if Chelsea walk away from this game with the 3 points, even though it's a Stamford Bridge, especially because of how the Brighton games was played and even how the Benfica game was played. Well, Benfica were not even strong. And you kind of it was so lethargic. Garnacho getting the ball, trying but it's not good enough. Without Cole Palmer, it looks like Chelsea lackluster, to be honest. I said that Chelsea are not Palmer FC. But it looks like Enzo Maresca is really turning into the Palmer FC team. And also without Colwell, Chelsea struggles so much to build from the back. And if people don't see that, the struggle is real about just passing the ball to the midfielders to get it to the wingers. It's so hard for Chelsea to do that without Levi Colwell. Like Hato, Badiashile, Achimpong, Chalaba, they're not good on the ball at all. They're actually not great.
It's funny you just said that. The one player that none of them are as good as Cole on the ball, I agree. But the one player that actually does play through the lines and try and punch the ball is actually Tosin. He's not as good as Cole at it, but there's times you'll see Tosin trying to break lines, but he's not even available for them. So you're kind of looking at
exactly. I'm like, how are they going to get it to the forwards?
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have to go through the. You mentioned them, Bronze. I think it's gonna have to be the fullbacks. You're gonna have to look at Cucurella and James to really push them back and get them up the field.
Can I tell you one of the myths about the Premier League, and then people just fell into this? Everyone knows that I don't like Cucurella, right? Cucurella is a very solid player defensively. Cucurella is someone. Just hold on, guys. Let me just say
do you know what it is? It's because it's the only player that Mo's taller than. That's why he's got a beef with him. Do you know what I mean? So.
Probably, yeah. But let me tell you one of the things that stats back my item. Cucurella is one of the people that actually doesn't get involved in the build-up play. He passes the ball to the next guy he sees, which is you do your job. You're very solid defensively. You make the late runs to the 18 and you score. I actually noticed that, and I went to the actual touches for fullbacks in the final third. Cucurella is less than the majority of the fullbacks in the Premier League last season, even though Chelsea averaged 60% ball position. He doesn't pass the ball forward between the lines. Cucurella passes the ball. Cucurella is the fullback that keeps it ticking. Reece James is the one that actually played.
So harsh. I don't think that's true.
Okay, Dan, go and check the stats.
You
for
send
the
them
number.
to me. You've done your research. You send them to me. I believe it.
I'm gonna tell you.
Where are these facts that you speak of?
It's very simple. Go compare him. Go compare him on FBref, the number of touches in the final third, the number of forward passes on FBref versus the likes of Kirkes last season.
The only thing I'll say to that is maybe it shows that Chelsea. You have to go deeper on the stats there and look at whether or not Chelsea are having much possession in the final third when Cucurella is involved in that build-up. So. I don't know. I would say Cucurella's touches in the final third are normally pretty limited because there'll be, one-touch crosses or one attempt at a shot. I don't really think I see him as a player having a lot of touches in the final third. But he's definitely not a player that's afraid to play through the lines. I actually think he's quite intricate in that sense. And I feel like you're doing him a little bit there.
I think that's the myth. Actually, I don't think actually Kukurea is capable of picking the right
I would like to, honestly, Mo, what I don't have the stats with me here. I think what I would like to see, though, is his passing map for the whole season, because I just don't believe that he'd be incredibly biased to just sort of retaining possession. I think he gets involved more than just on the left-hand side because of the inverted role that he plays.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll come back to you in a second, Rom. Mate, look, Laura, how do you see this going in terms of the question itself? Do you think Chelsea will add more misery to Liverpool this weekend, or will Slot's team bounce back? Because as we sort of alluded to earlier, there's been a lot of meltdowns this week from Liverpool supporters. Jamie Carragher saying they're not a top side and that he's really worried about it. Do you think this is the perfect game for Liverpool to bounce back in?
Yeah, I think it's been mentioned already. I think this is the perfect game for Isak to essentially announce himself. This is what you pay the money for. This is what, as well as whatever Liverpool need him for the rest of the season. In a difficult spot, I'd say I think the meltdown has been, everyone makes fun of Arsenal fans. We do meltdowns. We do very good meltdowns. But my God, there's been a Liverpool meltdown this week. Yeah. Like, you've clearly been watching. You say we copy you. You've learned some tricks on how to do a social media meltdown. But I think this is a game for Isak. And I'm going to be super bold. I think this could be a kind of brace Hattrick type game for Isak. I'm going bold, but I see this is where he announces himself.
That would be like Roms, like just answer that bit from Laura there. How big would that be if he turns up at Stamford Bridge, bags a brace, bags a hat-trick, and sails off into the international break? Is that the kind of settler that you as Liverpool fans need?
Yeah, because I think we know, like with Isak, we're less worried with him than a Wirtz. He's proven, he's been in the league. I think the minute he gets off the mark, I know he did against Southampton, but albeit it's Southampton, the minute he gets off the mark in the league, we'll be fine. I think you'll start seeing the 2s, the 3s, and he'll start getting a goal a game, depending on how much he plays. And then the Ekatike debate comes into this, but I think he's going to be out for. I don't think it's as severe as Alisson's. Apparently, it's cramped now, but the way you pulled up, that didn't look like cramped to me. That does look like a longer term injury, but I don't know if it's come out the official time he's out yet. But it's funny that Laura says this because I said it on the show earlier. I actually think he gets a brace. I said, Isak really announces himself, not just with one goal. I also think he gets a brace in this game against Chelsea. But I think once he does that, Terry, we'll all be fine. And I think you'll see he'll come back. He'll put 2 in against United. I'm joking, but he'll get 1 against United, and he'll start.
You get 5 against us.
I get 5.
Yeah. And then the balls start to roll. But I just want to address something earlier. I want to make a statement earlier, and I think Dan would agree. I think this is the game for Esteval to start if Kirkes starts. I personally don't want Kirkes starting this game because you've seen he evades a lot of space. The 2 games, he actually got told to stay back. The Arsenal and Everton game, he actually played well in shot, but sometimes he just has a brain fart and he just evades space when he doesn't always. There's sometimes you go and there's sometimes you don't be so gung-ho, right? But I think if he starts this game against Chelsea, we're going to be like, we're licking our lips. They don't have their strongest back 4. We're going to bomb forward, especially with a Cucurella and Reece James that like to go forward as well. Kirkes, that's going to be a trigger for him to go forward. But Esteval will be left on an island a lot in this game. And I feel like he hasn't really been given a chance. And when he has, he got an assist, I think, in the West Ham game. He came, again, I don't want to lose Lincoln as the benchmark, but I think he came on that game and did quite well. I think he could actually be a problem for us. If Kirkes starts, if Robbo starts, I think he'll be able to put out.
I was worried about Esteval against United, very worried because of how our midfield has holes in it. Especially if our centre backs don't step up. When Chelsea took him off after that red card very quickly, I just felt a sense of relief. And then obviously Palmer came off as well, and Neto came off. I felt we were going to win from that point, no matter what happened, red card or no red card, because there's a lot of firepower there, but that's a massive hole for Liverpool. And Galatasaray exploited it. And I think Palace did too. And Palace are a better team than Galatasaray, in my opinion. And I think that the intriguing part of this match for me is watching what Arne Slot does. There's a lot of criticism for a certain Portuguese manager at the moment in the Prem, and rightfully so, for not making slight adjustments, tweaks to his system to adapt to the Premier League. The fact he's come out this week, and I know we'll get onto him later, and said that it's so much different from Portugal. And I'm sitting there going, why haven't you made the changes? I don't quite get it. It's just crazy to me. But is Slot going to make those changes, or is he going to stick playing with a narrow double pivot, a 10, and marauding fullbacks, leaving that space in behind? You've gone away from the days where your 2-8s didn't always get forward in attack. They often covered for the fullbacks going forward. There is a massive area there to exploit. The last 2 games, it's been done very, very well. And I think if Galatasaray had the types of attackers that Chelsea do, Pedro Neto, Esteval, João Pedro, they could have put 3 or 4 past you. And that's the intriguing thing for me in this game. Does Arne Slot, because it's a system tweak as opposed to I don't think it matters who you play. If you play in the same way, if you leave that space, the space is there. It doesn't matter if Wirtz is 10 or Szoboszlai. Maybe you score a couple of extra goals because Wirtz ain't delivering. But in terms of the space in behind to be exploited all season, counter-attacks have been on. And I think I see it the other way from Mo. I do think Chelsea win this game. I think Chelsea win 2-1. I think it's one of those matches, and I talk about this quite a bit on the terrace, because I think a lot of people just see only Liverpool winning. It automatically makes me go to Chelsea. Sometimes I get that horribly wrong, but it is just a score prediction, so everyone should relax. But from my perspective, I just think that Chelsea are going to do this. By hook or by crook, Chelsea 2-1 is my view.
Do you know what's funny about what you said? You always speak out the football gods. It happened the other night. Everyone was saying, "Oh, PSG are missing the whole front line. Barca are definitely going to win." And then you've seen the opposite normally happens. But you touched on the Palace game. The reason why right now for me, Arne Slot is the biggest problem. Is I don't want him out like some of the online. That's crazy. That for me, that is just ludicrous. But I think he got it wrong against Palace. He come out after the game and said Wirtz started on the left because we wanted to pack the midfield. Crystal Palace are a team that bypass the midfield or they go wide, and we literally had no one there. So in this game against Chelsea, I would put it like this. I would understand if he was to set up like that against this Chelsea team or and try to pack the midfield. I know they've got the Enzo and Caicedo, which are their anchors, but it would make more sense how he set up against Palace to maybe set up against this Chelsea team, because it was alien. When I saw how we were playing and we were so narrow, we literally played into their hands over the top and round outside. But I think with this Chelsea game, I wouldn't start Kirkez, and I'll put Szoboszlai back in the midfield to kind of try and nullify Caicedo and Energy, because he'll be everywhere.
I would do that because they're going to do, as Sachin says here, I think Chelsea are going to set up. They're going to try and beat you in the same way they beat Paris Saint-Germain. I think they're going to invite you on and then try and exploit the space. So what I would do if I was Slot is we're going back to the 4-3-3. My 8s are going to cover the space of the fullbacks, because I think Maresca's going to plan for how you've been playing so far this season. And I think he should throw a spanner in the works. My mind will if you line up 4-3-3 with no out-and-out 10, my mind will change and I'll go to Liverpool. If you line up as you have been doing, I just think Chelsea are going to nick it with a couple of counter-attack goals. And I'm here for it because that gives my lone E team, Arsenal, an opportunity to go top of the league. And, double.
Can I ask a question?
I've got a question for the panel.
I got a question. One question. Who needs to be cautious more in this game? A loss would be more implicating which team?
Chelsea.
Chelsea, I think. I think it'll put us way too far behind the pack in terms of, there was that sort of excitement at the beginning of the season around whether or not Chelsea could be a team that sort of challenge from a little bit deeper down the pecking order. And I think that'll pretty much write that argument off, to be honest.
Because back-to-back losses for Liverpool.
I think
that would be hilarious, to be honest with you.
Why Liverpool?
Because I think people still know Liverpool haven't clicked, though.
Double A. I want to hear why double A. Go ahead, Dan.
Because I don't think they've been good all season, really. I think, you look at the last minute goals and then to lose 3 in a row, I think a little bit of panic might set in. And then I think the agenda against Wirtz absolutely starts to come in from all areas, like media. Everyone's going to come. And, if they can't have, if Isak draws a blank in this game, and although you rate it, say he's going to get a couple of goals, if he draws a blank, not that the pressure will be as intense as it is on Wirtz, but you can't have 100 million plus players starting to be to be bad or not play.
You know,
well.
double A, I'm
You know what I
going to
mean?
double on this as well, double A, and I'm going to say, if Salah doesn't perform well this game, I actually think the media will absolutely slaughter him. The media will be on his back
No,
because of
Slot.
the Ballon d'Or.
Surely not. This,
Slot.
nah.
Sorry,
No, you
sorry,
said
Laura?
you said
Slaughter him in the media. Salah,
Oh.
if he doesn't perform in this game,
Yeah.
guys, the media, because Isak didn't have a preseason, Wirtz, like you can have all the excuses for the Wirtz, the Isaks, Konati with the contract. Mohamed Salah, after signing that massive contract last season, and actually Liverpool fans and all the people that spoke about Mohamed Salah, and actually him carrying Liverpool and all the Liverpool, listen, I do a lot of shows with Liverpool, especially with Hussam Daily. And every time I say that last season was a carry job, but me and Terry went on it. The guy literally had a historic season last season. 47, you broke the record.
Wait, bro, is anyone trying to deny that?
No.
Yeah. Some people are. Some
Yeah,
people were saying that, it wasn't like this. Diaz contributed, Gakpo contributed.
No, other players
I
contributed.
swear
It
they
was
were-
mainly down to Salah.
No, but I push back
said
against
that.
it.
No, I said 80%.
As a Man United
won the league
fan,
is Mohamed Salah.
as a Man
I
United
agree
fan,
with you.
I'm very complimentary of Mo Salah. I just don't believe in title winning teams being carry jobs, because again, if I start using that narrative, people will start doing it against my club. And Van Persie didn't carry Man United in 2013. Rooney was fantastic. Michael Carrick was fantastic. Chicharito was very influential with goals from the bench. There were multiple other players. It's just Van Persie was the
But they
star
didn't
of
have
that
4
team.
in GA. They didn't break the record of the history of the Premier League.
You know, I understand that, but football was harder back then as well, wasn't it? So it's very different.
Last question.
Here comes the football harder narrative. Like every time we talk about records,
we're not
Football
going
is-
to lie and
it's
pretend
not hard.
we're not going to lie and pretend that football wasn't harder 15, 20 years ago. When
You
everyone
push
knows it was.
against this narrative all the time.
I don't push against
We
it.
cannot
I just speak
compare.
facts.
We cannot compare eras.
We can when I lived them both. Like if I speak to my nan, my
He's the
nan
only
knows what
one that
life
can
was like.
compare eras, people.
Yeah,
because he
I'll
lived
give you an
them.
example. I'll give you an example. We can all read books about World War II, but none of us know what it was like to live through it. Somebody that was there and is alive now, they can tell us exactly which time was better. Because they live both. I live both eras. I can tell you what I think was better. I was alive. I was there. I lived it.
Question for the panel, because it's been driving me mad, and I've been the biggest advocate for him because I think he's banging form. Do you not think Cheisa should start this game? Because on our left-hand side, right, I think we've got a Cody Gakpo where he does score important goals and he does love the big game, but he's very predictable. Gets the ball, cut inside every time. The fullback always knows what he's going to do. And then you've got Ekitike that's obviously injured right now. Rio, I rate Rio, but I still think, does he warrant a start right now at Stamford Bridge? Not just yet. I think it's glaringly obvious that Cheisa warrants his first Premier League start. Honestly,
Laura, what do you think of that, Laura?
Is he not injured? Like, what is he not currently injured?
Cheisa.
Why was he left out? Was he not left out of the Champions League?
You know,
squad?
he's normally injured, but he's actually not. It's not just left.
Oh, okay, so it's fine.
Just left him out. No, he's available.
The goals that he scored this season, have they come from being a substitute? Like, is he better as a kind of like super sub?
They have
that
they,
kind of
they
thing.
Actually have. Yeah.
So I wonder whether that's the type of thing where you just go, right, throw him on at 60, 70 minutes if it's not going your right way and just do a little bit of a Hail Mary because it's worked so far. That feels like a better way of doing it for me if that's what's worked in the previous couple of games. He does feel like that's slightly chaotic, slightly better than sort of Nunes where you just throw him on, don't know what to expect, but he has proven in the past couple of games that he's got that in him. So I would lean towards having him as a super sub in the way that I wish Arsenal would persist with Trossard, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
Yeah.
very true. So, by the way, it
But-
looks like he's injured, actually, guys. I just checked.
He might be injured.
Because he's
He's
actually
injured.
included in the Champions League squad. They added him after Leone's injury, but he was injured. That's why he didn't go to Turkey.
Okay. But let me ask you a question, Roms. Do you think if he doesn't start and you lose, it's one of these additional narratives that will then be used against Slot because Chiesa's had these good sub appearances?
Yes, because I do understand Laura's logic that kind of if don't fix what's not broken, if he's coming in the late goal against Bournemouth, the goal against the other day, I know we didn't beat Palace, but he came on and made it level. But I just feel like there comes a point when your impact sub keeps impacting the game, he does then warrant a start. Obviously, it's also a World Cup year. Gattuso's come out recently and spoke about, oh, he's impressed with Cheisa and whatnot. But the only reason why I'm saying I think he wanted to start, because our left-hand side is very predictable at the moment. The relationship between Kirkez and Gakpo isn't the best. Gakpo does the same thing over and over again. Yes, last season he did score big goals, and this season he hasn't started the best, but especially against Mo's favourite fullback, Cucurella, for me, he's very good at stopping the wide men. I just feel like he normally has success that side. Cucurella normally has good games against Liverpool, full stop. And I just feel like Gakpo keep getting the ball recycling, cutting in. It's very predictable where Cheisa will at least try and go on the outside, go on the inside. He's got a goal, and we all know goals give you confidence. So for me, this game in isolation, I start him.
Okay,
over Salah,
Okay,
over Salah or on the left?
No.
on the left.
No, Salah starts. Cheisa, I mean on the left.
You said
jump to some of these
Korea,
comments
and I'm
now,
like,
guys. I'm going to jump to some of these comments now, guys. First of all, Don, big up the CFC Don. He says here, straight facts tomorrow, bro. 3:30, we will be there. He says, I'm still confused on Mo's Badia Shield take, even tossing on the ball. Those guys are very good in the build-up as well. Colwell's just the best one.
yeah, but
And
Chile hasn't
Mo,
even played for years.
He's also Mo, just to like dig in there a little bit. Don's also emphasised the very like full on, like to suggest that they're top at that sort of part
Top
of their
what? Who's top?
game. Well, he said they're very good in the build up.
Yeah.
Okay, to be
know,
honest, it's very good. Is bro? This
Yeah,
is
what is
Don
very good?
Habibi. I like
you agree,
you.
though?
I like you, Don, but don't go over.
like he's not just saying they're very good. He's saying like they're very good in the build
the
up.
top.
Do you agree with that, bro? Do you agree
Nah, I
with
wouldn't.
that,
Because for me,
There you go,
my
then.
level of very good, yeah, is like Van Dijk. Like you got to go high for that sort of level of praise.
Well, that's bro.
Hadashile and Tosin have got a lot of mistakes in their locker to be considered very good. Like to put that in bold.
I
Don,
think
as well,
language
like,
is really
we're watching
important in this.
different players.
I think language is important because sometimes people have different words for different things. Me and Staffy had this big debate the other week where he said Terry stopped saying it's going to take 4 years to fix Man United. He said it should take a few months. And I wasn't angry that he challenged me on that. I was frustrated that I was trying to get to the crux of what do you mean by fix? And his fix was playing better football. Where my fixed is playing better football, squad looks good, debts being paid down, challenging for titles. So I can't use the word fix for that. Very good to Don might be like
Average,
a decent. Because he might look at Van Dijk as he's an alien, he's a superstar at it. So therefore, very good's down here. We need to understand you, Don. What you mean by who else is very good in the Prem? Give us some other centre backs in their category. So give us some perspective. We need some perspective.
I'll be honest, and I know Don's focusing specifically on their build-up, but I think Tosin and Badashile would be lucky to be described as above average in their build-up. To be honest with you, I feel like there's a lot of mistakes in the two of them. I feel like they feel comfortable on the ball, but I think they can also be extremely lackadaisical at times on the ball.
I get that. Gaza here says, I nearly butchered that one. Says that's the dyslexia coming out, but he says that Buonanotte will also create extreme problems for Liverpool. He can drive through several defenders. He cuts through the midfield like a knife, unless physically rough play is permitted by Liverpool.
Nah, that's off ChatGPT. Come on,
right?
do me a favour.
Gotta be a joke.
I'll be honest with you. There's so many more players I'm worried about from Chelsea before Buonanotte respected.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say to you,
Panel in the mud. Buonanotte
this
scored
game
1-0
is
Chelsea.
This game's written.
Puts a very good Van Dijk on his bum and puts it in the top corner. Yeah.
Everybody talks about the football gods, Roms, right? I reckon this game's written for Rio to potentially score an important goal in this one.
Oh, Chelsea, yeah.
I feel like it just is. You know,
Chelsea, you must have an ex-Liverpool player. You bought so many kids. You must have bought one off Liverpool.
Currently, no.
I actually don't know if we have. No one springs to mind.
You guys have been catching more kids than Fagan. You must have at least one from Liverpool.
I was worried where that was going.
Yeah, I was worried.
Really worried.
Too, bro.
I was torn between Fagan and I don't know his name, the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but I think he's just called the child catcher, and it didn't ring as good. So I thought I will go with Fagan.
People are saying cheekily Caicedo, but he wasn't officially a Liverpool.
Yeah, that's true. They got Caicedo. Evan here. Evan says, El take Mo. Cucurella has been the best left back this season, in my opinion, in the league. Oh, yeah. He hasn't been better than Calafiori. He hasn't.
Oh, I don't know. Cucurella's been very good actually. This season.
Okay, here's the
And
thing,
last
because
season.
to be honest with you guys, I'm just gonna say this because Cucurella is very solid defensively, very solid lately defensively. I was playing as a third center back, basically. I think people like mistake that for the offensive modern fullback. I know he scores goals for Chelsea going to the 18, but for me, the modern fullback doesn't have to be Trent, but someone who passes the ball, gets involved. Like you see Nuno Mendes yesterday, for example. You see Keita Balde. You see these guys. This is the people that get involved in the game, build up, passing the ball. Because for me, fullbacks are the solution. And by the way, it's not a secret. When Reece James is on his game, Chelsea look much better because a fullback is the output for everyone because they have the line. And when Reece James is on it, Chelsea look good, look better.
Yeah. Mafisa here says that he is hoping for a draw. Nafisa, sorry, also says Laura, yes. I'm not going to emphasize it too much because that would just look weird. Me reading it how it's.
No, go on. You say yes. You know you want to.
Yes, yeah. It's just not me. It's not a bit of me. It doesn't work well with a Cockney vibe. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Someone asked me once whether I put on my Cockney accent, my London accent. They were like, "Is it like a fake thing, like a character?"
It does. It's posh behind the screens when the cameras are off.
Yeah.
Posh.
My name is Sebastian, and I'm from Maida Vale. And yes, I speak very well. I'm not posh like Laura, to be fair. Laura's quite posh, a very posh accent.
Yeah, guilty as charged.
There we go.
No, she just speaks proper English, Terry. That's
Just
all
proper, yeah. No, that's it. Like I get corrected by my daughter all the time. She's like, "Daddy, it's water, not water. It's water." But then my oldest son's from Northern Ireland, so he's just like common like me. He's like, "Daddy." my two youngest are from Surrey now, so they're very posh. VVD looked really worried in the post-match interview. Do you think we take too much? There's too much into the, oh, look, the player looks really worried at the end of the game. Oh, he looks disinterested. Oh, he's smiling. It means he doesn't care. Do you sometimes think because I'd have thought this week, if you go back and look at this Premier League, last few weeks in the Prem, Arsenal got ridiculed for celebrating an equaliser, even though games can't restart straight away because VAR checks everything. So this whole get the ball and run to the halfway line, it doesn't actually speed things up because they spend a minute checking VAR. But if that type of mentality is what gets you winning, Man United scored a goal against Brentford, grabbed the ball straight away and went to the centre circle, didn't score again. So again, I look at some of these things and it's like, do we over-egg all this? Do we actually over-egg this stuff? Does it actually have any
Terry,
real
let's just
impact?
be honest. Let's just be honest. It's because it's Arsenal. The examples of the other clubs, we've won something. Because I think the minute they win something, everyone will shut up. Like everyone will actually shut up. They just have to get over the line. That's all.
You're not convinced, Laura? You're not convinced?
No, I think it will die down certainly, but it's got to be the Premier League or the Champions League. Nothing else is good enough. So if we win the FA Cup, you're still going to have people going, "You've not won anything." We're just going to move the goalposts each time, basically. But I do think
winning the cup is not moving the goalpost. If you only win the cup after 6 years with the manager, it's not moving the goalpost. That's not good enough. And you're suggesting it's good enough for you to have the same manager, call yourself a big club.
I'm not suggesting it's good enough.
Okay. So that's not moving the goalpost, then. So rightfully so.
Let Laura respond, please, Mo.
No, I'm not saying it's good enough. I'm just saying that there are bits of the fan base who are going, and other fan bases who are going, "You haven't won a trophy for this many years. Will you then go ahead and win a trophy?" And it'll be, "Well, you haven't won the Premier League, etc., etc." I'm not saying it's good enough. I personally don't think it is.
Laura, I actually think with some, and I'm talking some media outlets, and definitely the die-hard Arteta routers, it will go from win me a big trophy to you've only won me one in 6 years, though. They will move. And why do I think this? There was one player in my lifetime who had an agenda before people had an outlet, and it was Cristiano Ronaldo. And Double A will remember all of this, especially living in Manchester, because the City fans at school and at work would have done this. He was overrated. He was considered one of Fergie's flops at 12 million quid. He was a one-trick show pony, was the first thing he got called. Then he started scoring goals, but they said he didn't do it in the big games. And he did it in the big games, but they weren't decisive big games because we weren't in the title race at that point. Then he scores in FA Cup and League Cup finals, but it was only against Millwall and it was only against Wigan, and he had to do it against bigger teams. And he hadn't scored enough in the Champions League, so he started scoring in the Champions League. Didn't do it in the knockouts. Okay, but what will he do in the final? Scored in the final, but he missed his penalty. And this went on and went on and went on. Every time he kind of achieved the thing, that they were criticizing him for, they moved on to, and by the way, it's still happening now at 40 years of age. It's, I know he's still scoring, but he don't play like he used to, does he? It's kind of gone the other way now, where all the things they used to criticize him for, they're moaning that he can't do. And I do think Arsenal, I only think the only way Arsenal completely stop it, I think you'd have to do like back-to-back Prems, Champions League in there, an FA Cup Prem double. You'd almost need to do something where there's not many other directions you can go in, because people are not going to they're like a rabies-infested dog holding onto someone's leg. They are not letting go of their Arteta out agenda. And the media, look at Jamie O'Hara today. He's saying how disgraceful it was that Arsenal were considered favourites by the bookies, blamed Arsenal fans, even though they don't set the odds. But then there's all these clips of him every time Spurs win back-to-back games saying, why can't we win the league? I think we should be looked at as one of the favourites. And I know that he's a Spurs fan, but he's posing as a professional pundit. But that is not going to go away for Arsenal. And I just think strap yourselves in. I don't think it's going to disappear at all, personally.
Can I say that the reason why I think Laura's right is because it happened to United with Ten Hag, because we've not won a trophy in 6 years. And then when we won the League Cup, it's but it's the League Cup. Like, we've not won a trophy for 6 years. So what are we meant to do? Like,
you know what? Terry's spot on, because even when we won the league, it's but can you go back to back? Even this one, Liverpool have never gone back to back. And you know, it's so ironic from Arsenal fans, because I would accept that from City fans, Chelsea fans, United fans, but even though Wenger had great teams, he never went back to back. So when Arsenal fans are saying, "Yeah, you've won the league now, but you go back to," it's like, hold on, you didn't do that either.
But this is the one thing.
It's going to get to the stage, where we literally going, "Yeah, well, you've not won the treble. You've not won the treble. You've not done a treble."
Yeah.
That's how it used to be.
At least me and Terry can say it though. But
this is the one thing. I think once you've won it though, and you're not in a bad space, or you're not in a bad space and you've won it. For me, I can only go back to what I remember back then, because we haven't done it long enough, is it doesn't bother you as much. So when United didn't win, in sort of when Aguero's goal happened, it was horrible on the day, got a lot of banter. But because I knew we'd be in the title race again the next year, it's like water off a duck's back. So that's the one thing. Once you know you're going to be in the title race again, you've won a trophy, all right, you can make up the agendas all you want, but that success kind of is a nice kind of shield and barrier to it, I think.
You know what it is at the end of the day? Us rivals are supposed to put pressure on our clubs. That's what it is. You're supposed to put pressure on opposing clubs. Even before a ball had been kicked, my mates were saying to me, you signed Wirtz and Isak now, you have to win the treble. And I said, so even if I win the Prem, you think I'm going to be upset? Or I've only just won the Premier League this year.
Exactly. But even if you are, it's not upset. And one thing I've noticed being a United fan, and I can't wait. I want to win. I saw the City fan. I want to say his name's Liam. It's not the lad who's always on the overlap. What's his name? Luke. And I've been told by all accounts, people that have worked with him, because I speak to Beth and the guys at United Stand a lot, and they say he's a really nice lad. So I'm not. This is not a dig at him. It's just the view. He sort of quote tweeted something Mark put out around the percentage blame at Old Trafford, and he kind of said like the biggest blame's on the fans who think they've got a divine right to win. And I don't think most United fans think they have a divine right to win. I think we look at it and say we've spent more money than City in the last decade. Because we've done that, we should be winning. There is a difference in that. But at the same time, I just want to go back to an era where if we don't win something, I'm pissed. But I know a few days later, you're looking at your potential transfers and you're saying, I can't wait for next season because we're a good team. We're going to be there or thereabouts again. And I think when you're in that space in the Premier League, I don't think there's much more you can moan about, because if you look at English football, there's been three clubs over, I think, covering only 4. If you add it up, it's probably about 3 decades in totality, maybe 4 when you add Man City into it. In 150 years, they've actually dominated for a prolonged period of time. Outside of that, in England, it's never been just 2 teams of the best 2 sides, and once you're there, you stay there. So I don't think there should be an expectation to, I want to be the best team in England and stay there forever. And if we're not there, I'm just going to be angry every day. I just think you're not going to enjoy football in the long term if your brain computes that way. But moving on from this subject, we'll do predictions. We'll do score predictions. Dan, what are you going with score predictions for the game, bro?
Do you know, I'm gonna go over 2-2. Like, just pray that Chelsea gets something out of it, but it's gonna be tough.
I like that. Double A.
Sadly, I think I'm gonna go Liverpool 2-1. I think.
Laura, sorry.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Liverpool as well.
Romps?
I'll go more comfortable. 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool. Mo?
I echo Roms. 3-1 Liverpool. That's my prediction.
And I'm sticking to what I said earlier. I'm going 2-1 to Liverpool. No, to Chelsea. I'm going 2-1 to Chelsea. I was 2-0 Palace. Well done. Yeah, I didn't hear my kids cheer, which is good. Which is good. So I always tell my kids, if you don't support Man United, you will be adopted and removed from my house. It's straight facts. It's just in my house. I don't, my children, I won't go into too much detail, but if they grow up and this is their orientation, or they want that to be their religion, or they want to date this person, or they want to do this for a job, I'll be supportive. If they turn their back on Man United, they're gone. That's it. It's the only non-negotiable I have with my children. That's it. I care not about the rest of it. So anyway, moving on. I have another fiction or football question. Do we go into the bigger debate or the smaller one first? Let's do the smaller one first, because I don't think it'll take us long. But Laura, fiction or fact? Bukayo Saka is worth every penny of the reported £300,000 a week offer from Arsenal for a new contract.
Fact. I think that takes him as to be the top earner. I think that salary bump would represent. I think it's a combination of rewarding his performances so far, but also a commitment to the future. So I think it's fairly obvious to me that he is very, very important, not just to in terms of his output, but the type of player he is. The fact that we'd have to, I'm sure Liverpool are the clubs that would love Saka, but him committing his future to Arsenal, he's still young, still is coming back from an injury, has a lot more to give. I think it's a good representation of reward for his contribution for the past couple of years, but also, what he has to give going, for the future. So for me, it's fairly simple. Yeah, absolutely. Pay him what he wants.
He's worth more. Based on the current market, he's worth more than 300k. If Kai Havertz is making 280, if Omar Marmoush is making 295, guys, to be honest, so Saka's off. We're not talking about 2015. We're talking about today's prices, right? Today's prices, Omar Marmoush signed a contract for 295. So Saka's more established than Omar Marmoush, so he's worth more. Cody Gakpo is making 250k. So if I'm not mistaken, 250 or 225, something like this. Saka's worth more than 300k. And if Arsenal wanted to keep Saka for the long term, they had to offer him that much money. People can say, yeah, it's too much money. It's too much money for you. For me, it's too much money. But for football players nowadays, it's not. That's the current market. That's the going rate. And Arsenal had to pay it. And I think it's worth more. And I think 300k for him is actually fair enough. I think Foden is about to sign the 300k or something like this. So basically, he's worth it. I
want to jump on this very quickly as well and say he is worth it. But Arsenal doing this is, on all serious levels, it demonstrates a completely different football club to 10, 15, 20 years ago. Arsenal, for me, from about the mid-noughties onwards, what I loved as a United fan, especially as one that was competing with them, they were my biggest competitive rival at that point. I love the fact that they started losing their better players in the mid-noughties. And then every time they had a good player who wanted to be paid the going rate, Arsenal invariably did it and they left. You can look at Ashley Cole, Cesc Fabregas, Nasri, Van Persie, etc. I mean, Ashley Cole's now come out and said, I was offered the right money. I was going to sign. They took it away. Arsenal now paying the going rate to keep the Sakas, the Salibas, the Gabriels. Whenever I hear their owners aren't ambitious, they don't want to win. I don't believe that the Cronkies have not got a plan to try and win. That doesn't mean they'll get over the line. No, but you don't pay the salary they are to these players. You don't spend the money in the last 5 years on transfers if you're not trying to get to the top. Now, there are some clubs spending more, but if you look at the revenues of those clubs compared to Arsenal, there is a £300 to £400 million a year difference in income. They're just bigger clubs financially. So Arsenal will never be able to spend what PSG and Real Madrid spend on transfers and salaries combined because they don't earn enough money at this particular moment. When their income goes up, it will. I think this is hugely significant, not just because of how good he is, but it's the message that it sends. And maybe they'll start doing this. I think the final part for Arsenal is to become a better seller. So to sell their players for more money to bring in more revenue. That being said, what you haven't seen at Arsenal for the last 3 or 4 years, and this is new in my opinion, is you're not seeing their best players sold. You're not seeing their best players get picked off by Man City, by we couldn't do it now if we tried, but Man United's of this world, Chelsea's, the Real Madrid's. Arsenal are keeping them. I just think that is hugely.
Why do you think that? Why do you think? Sorry, that's for the panel. That's for everyone. So Liverpool can't keep the stars, even though they're winning, and I think they're more attractive.
What stars?
Tom was with me. I think Tom was with me yesterday. No. I think there's someone else that said that Arsenal are the most attractive club currently. That's why they're able to sign Saliba for a long-term contract, keep the likes of Saka, get the likes of Zubimendi. I want to know why. I don't know the answer.
I know why. There's a few things. One, they've got the greatest anthem in the world in North London Forever. Okay. Mikel Arteta and his team talks. The murals. Win the dog. Why would you? I'm joking, right? There's none of those.
Harry, you're
things
such a good Arsenal fan. You're really good. Like,
do you know what I do? Do you know how I learn all this? Do you know how I do it? It's Fugazi. What I do is I look at all the things that outers moan about, and then I just pretend they're really good. It's very easy to do it. But no, I mean, Laura, what do you put it down to? Why do you think Arsenal in the last few years have been able to hold on to all of your best players?
I think there's one reason, and that's Arteta. Say whatever you like about him.
I agree.
We don't know how the relationship he has with those players. Everything points to the fact that they love him and that they believe in him to take the club forward, to get the club over the line. That's it. There is one thing that they've bought into. It's Arteta, his vision, his weird, slightly cringe methods. They clearly all buy into speaking to RAF pilots and light bulbs in the dressing room and drawings on the whiteboard, pickpocketing.
And do you think that's correct or no?
It doesn't matter if it's correct. They believe.
What do you think? What do you think as well? I want to know what you think. What do you think? That's correct? So players getting attached to a coach and like this, who hasn't won a major trophy yet?
Well, if you ask, I think it's exactly the same thing. If you ask the players why they've come to Man City over the past couple of years, it's because of Pep. So I think
there's a huge difference there, isn't there?
There's a huge difference.
What are we doing here?
They do know with Pep.
Hang on.
No. Sorry. The question was, is it okay to get attached to a coach? It doesn't matter who the coach is. The question that you asked is it okay? And is it a reason for players to say to get attached to a coach? It doesn't matter who the coach is. I'm not comparing Pep and Arteta, that they are worlds apart. I'm comparing the fact that the reason some of these best players stay at a club where, yes, we haven't won anything for a while, is because of the personnel. I think that can apply to at any level. You know, you look at some of the lower leagues as to why, you know, certain players don't make the jump up when they could. It's because they're in love with the coach. I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, but for this group of players, that's the reason they're all staying. That's the reason Saliba signed, Gabriel signed, Saka signed. It's because of Arteta, and it's because of what they think he can do for them.
Do you know?
I feel like that's an incredibly rare situation in today's game, though, to have that loyalty towards a coach whose job is normally so fragile. And also with City at the same time, the players are showing a hunger to have that attachment to a manager that might win them trophies. Are you not worried at Arsenal that the attachment stems from light bulb moments and pickpocketing? Because that would worry me, that my players are more interested in off-field antics than winning trophies.
No, I don't think those isolated incidents that get blown up by the press are why the players.
I just love the idea that Bukayo Saka's got offers from like Real Madrid and he goes, "Fuck, I can't wait to see what Arteta's going to have us do this pre-season."
I
gotta stay to see what pickpockets he gets.
Do you know what? He's got a magician pulling out a contract out of the new sporting director's hat.
But what I will say, you make fun.
Look, can you let Laura finish, please? Sorry, go on.
I genuinely think he deserves the ridicule, just to be clear. I think some of the methods are mad.
I think he's amazing.
Whatever you think of the methods, though, the man is clearly trying. And in this atmosphere that we're in at the moment, where it's very, very uncool to be seen to be trying, I think the players respect that this coach is going above and beyond, doing weird shit. As I was going to say, those are isolated incidents that get blown up by the press because they are slightly out of the norm. Number one, I am fairly sure that coaches up and down the country are doing weird shit all the time. The second thing is that we are not party to the conversations that Arteta has with his players, how he treats them the other 90% of the time when he's not bringing a light bulb in. So for me, I don't think it's particularly controversial to suggest that these players are staying because of Arteta. It's not because of his wacky methods. It's so much more holistic.
Just on that,
what he brings.
Are you suggesting that Arsene Wenger didn't have the same sort of pull, even though he had proven success? Because why would those players of a past generation not stay? Was it purely money driven?
I think that's a fair challenge. I think it is probably money driven, because I think, as Terry said, if you go back 10 years, we just would not pay those wages. And so I think what you have at the moment is a double whammy of a coach that they're in love with and a backing of a club from a financial standpoint that says, and we will pay you fairly. I think if you look at the Wenger years, it was actually, this is an incredible manager, but I've got to go get my money. By the way, Real Madrid are calling.
And what I think Arteta is doing, I think Arteta is helping the players get this money as well, where Wenger was the driving force behind, we're not paying people that money. Wenger was the guy that, Wenger may have been right in the extent of, one of these things sometimes, isn't it? He was almost like turning up to an earthquake with a dustpan and brush. He was right in the sense, if every club would have followed his lead, the maximum transfer fees you'd be paying now would be 20 and 30 million still. Players would be earning 100k a week, probably max. The problem is he wasn't wrong in terms of his view that the money would get out of control. However, in practice, Arsenal got left behind because he would have a fullback that loved playing for him, who every other world-class fullback in the world was on 150k a week, and Arsenal were offering him 60 grand. So you've got to get that balance of those two things right. I think that if you offered Saka 300k, but he wasn't bought into Arteta and he has the chance to go to play for Pep, he has a chance to go and play at Liverpool, play for Real Madrid, I think he leaves. I think you've got to get both those things right, because the money isn't everything. And I would say one thing about Arsenal, it doesn't matter any of the reasons for not winning the Prem in the last 3 seasons have been in the race. At not one point in the last 3 years have I felt he's lost that dressing room. And I think that's significant. We've seen other teams fall off or make mistakes, and then you see just this detachment between the players and the coach. You haven't heard really a single whispering of that, and I think that is significant.
Terry, back onto the original point. I actually agree with Mo. I actually think Saka deserves even more, because like Mo said, he alluded to a point. If you look at similar players in his wage bracket, even in his own team, Gabriel Jesus, I think, is on, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, around 250 or circa or whatnot.
265.
Yeah, 265. Havertz on a bit more. I think he deserves probably between a 350 and a 400k. And I know some people might think that's absolutely absurd, but even if you look at when Arsenal were bad, he's had an upward trajectory every season. Bar the seasons he's been injured, even when they were under Emery and they were struggling, he's always been the one constant. And I think it sets a good precedent for, hey, Len, look, if you work hard, he's one of us, you will then get rewarded. Yeah. Eventually, I think he actually deserves this, probably a bit more. I think 300k is actually selling him a bit short, personally.
You know what?
Can I just say,
go ahead, Terry, read that, because there is a you said something very, very dangerous about the players' attachment to coaches and stuff like this. This is very dangerous in modern football. Go ahead, read that one. This year's
Saliba said he stayed not only because of Arteta, but because the club took a chance on him, and he wouldn't feel right leaving without winning major trophies, as well as becoming a legend of the club. And I do think that is significant.
There's another comment. Sorry, this is exactly the one that I saw coming up in the chat about players feeling like that he has improved them. Surely that is the number one thing that you look for, or part of the kind of most important things you look for in a coach, is that you're going to be made a better player by that individual. I think if you look at some of the personnel Arsenal have had that Arteta has developed, it's hard to argue that he hasn't made the majority of those players better individually and played them in a way that they have in a system where they play better. So
we can all have opinions as well, but sometimes you have to look at the anecdotal evidence, because maybe I've missed this, barring maybe that first crop of players you had to get rid of because their attitudes weren't right. I don't remember many players being sold and then all the stories coming out about how he's an arsehole or bastard, didn't help them, didn't develop them. And you listen to all the players that sign new deals, what they say about him. There's never any rumors of discontent. Him and the ownership get on perfectly. No ex-players are really going in on him by and large. Again, if you just look at that, everyone can have their own opinion whether he's a good enough manager to get them over the line or not. But But in terms of coaching, personnel, one thing that the United players loved about Fergie was he had their back. Other than Roy Keane, who says he didn't have any loyalty, but he did. The one thing, the only time the loyalty to the players can become too much is if you put the players before the club and you renew a contract of a player that should go because he isn't good enough, or you don't drop someone for sentimental reasons when there's a better option. Roy Keane doesn't like Fergie because Fergie moved him on when it was right to, because he was past his absolute best. And Fergie knew that the way he was behaving was going to damage the up-and-coming youngsters like Rooney and Ronaldo. So he looked at it as being disloyal. I look at that as being loyal to the club. That's the only time it can be a concern. English Talent here says, players at United are thrown into the bomb squad, but managers are God. There are ex-coaches today. Where are the ex-coaches today? See where they coach, how they coach, and if they coach. At the end of the day, multiple things can be right at the same time with Man United because we're in a mess. Arsenal are not right now. There are sometimes players have got to leave because it may not work for them at Manchester United. So Rashford's a prime example. You got Rasmus Højlund scoring goals that he wouldn't score that header for Man United this season because he lost all of his confidence. Some of it is the coaching. Some of it is the pressure of playing for a Manchester United. There's a combination if you go over the last 10 to 12 years, there's no doubt. But again, anybody, English Talent, that either blames all 100% on the players or 100% on the managers, both those groups of people are just wrong. And I don't care if this offends anyone. They shouldn't be listened to anymore because they're consistently wrong and have been consistently wrong for 13 years. I don't know why they get any fucking traction. They're morons. This here says what he is trying to do is change the mentality. It's all the marginal gain stuff. I've not got an issue because I was someone in my corporate life. I quite liked a training day. I quite liked a little role play, but I was someone that always took something from that and injected it into my work, and I found that it improved me. Some people hated it and didn't need it, but those things definitely improve. And I think a lot of them are blown out of proportion. The pickpocket one, it always froze me because it was just a pickpocket of a work day out. It's like going to a wedding and there's a close-up magician. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. It's, Terry Prudy was a clown. Why? He had a close-up magician at his wedding. I mean, it's just weird correlation stuff that people do because it's Arsenal. 10 years back, Arsenal was dead and buried. A ceiling club. Embarrassing 8-6-0, 5-0 defeats. Bukayo has been the leader of the revival story. 100% deserves it. Yeah, it's crazy to think what Arsenal were going for a decade or so ago. I remember those beatings away at Anfield and Old Trafford. It's crazy. Since they've got full ownership, it's changed. It's been an issue of horrid sporting directors. The wallet is there, but it's now about hiring correctly. Absolutely agree. Next question. We'll keep it on Arsenal because it's there, and I will go. I'm going to go to Dan first. I'll go to Tom first on this. He just joined us. Fiction or fact? When you take into account Arsenal's squad depth and recent form, does that now make them the favourites to win the Premier League?
Yeah, fact. Because the two closest challengers, there's bigger question marks around. With Liverpool, it's a case of how long will it take to click, if they're going to click? And because what they've shown is whilst they're not clicking, they're not playing well, and teams can take points off them now. So Arsenal, at the minute, they're coming off the biggest high of their season with that performance and result against Newcastle. And you look at teams that we had penciled in to be around them this season. Liverpool, there's a lot of question marks about whether they'll click at the right time, whether they need to click sooner rather than later. And now there's injuries to contend with, so it'll be interesting to see how we handle that. Chelsea, that they needed to be a lot better off to start the season because the Club World Cup fatigue was going to hit them, but they've not even started the season great. There's a lot of question marks about ill discipline, about quality of tactics, about whether the manager can handle it. And then City, again, they're the team that are trying to adapt to a new style of play. They've had some good moments with it, they've had some bad moments with it, but there's going to be a couple of teething problems with that and a couple of games where it doesn't click for them. When you look at Arsenal, this is the core of that squad's been settled now for 4 years. They've added one or two starters this season who are going to add that X factor that they needed from last year and the year before that. You combine that with the squad depth. So if they and not only is it squad depth, it's quality squad depth in terms of Mosquera's come in to replace Saliba and bar a dodgy moment away at Newcastle hasn't looked out of place. That's it. You can have squad depth, but it's about whether it's quality, it's whether you can trust it in the big moments. And Arsenal squad depth can be trusted in the big moments. It's shown so far this season. So they should be, because they're the one that are the most settled and the most secure. And
so let me ask you a question.
Organized.
You are a Liverpool fan. Are you now saying that you see Arsenal as a better team, better squad, and in better shape to win the league than Liverpool?
At this minute, yeah. At this present moment in time, yeah, because there's too much unknown with us. We've not adapted to a style of play.
What's your take on this, Laura? Do you feel that you're the favourites now? Should you be seen as the favourites from this point?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, though, I am surprised at how quickly the narrative has shifted. I think if we were having this conversation this time last week, it's a very different proposition. You know, we've drawn with Man City, Liverpool have won again. But I think if you look across the board in terms of squad depth, in terms of how sort of settled we are, and also early signs that Arteta is really going to be managing the load a lot better, I think the one thing that is still remains the question mark for me, and obviously we're so early in the season, we can't know this until we get to it, is just what happens in March, April, May. Is what happens with that mentality. Arsenal haven't got over the line before, and there's been multiple different flavours of failure. I think that's what I find difficult as an Arsenal fan. It's last year, the season never even started. 2 years ago, I'll happily say I think we choked. You know, we were ahead, and then that happened. And then the season before was a bit of a kind of surprise run. We were just happy to be in contention. So I think there is still a little bit of an unknown about how we go through the season, whether we. Personally, I would prefer if we can build a lead over Liverpool. Or whoever it is, to be honest, I really don't want to be chasing again. I think that's really when Arsenal just buckle under the pressure. So for me, everything is in place for Arsenal to win this title. I don't think if we get to the end of the season and we've had no injuries, I don't think there can be many excuses. But yeah, I think we are favourites at the moment. I'm just a little bit surprised about how quickly it's turned. It seems that we've beaten Newcastle and off we go. But I still think there's more long-term things in place that mean we are probably favourites.
People thought that the Liverpool players that clutching are going to always clutch. Sorry, Dan. I think what happened is people thought that the clutch players are going to keep clutching. Like it's just every game is going to keep clutching. Because, listen, I watched Tom with Hussam, and I watched Tom here, and I watched the Liverpool shows, and they were showing that the performances are not great, but we have so many clutch players. And I was a victim of this as well. But the problem is the clutch players just didn't come through in the last two games. And they're like, okay, what if they don't come through in the next 2, 3, 4 games? What if we play against Chelsea the same and there is nobody to bail us out in the 80th minute or the 85th minute? Now that's another 3 points. While Arsenal, yes, they lost against Liverpool. Yes, they drew against Man City. But they look like, Arsenal, to be honest, look like the most consistent team along with Crystal Palace. But I'm not going to sit here and just be disingenuous and say that Crystal Palace are title contenders, right? But Arsenal have been the most consistent team in the league. Like they have been. Like the performances, the way they play football is kind of similar, the same every game. You can say, yeah, this game we haven't created chances. This game they have created chances. But Liverpool have been up and down. They got dominated against Newcastle with 10 men, right? And they fell back and they conceded chances. And I think that is why the narrative have changed. Like even now, the people that were questioning, Gary Neville was questioning Arsenal's mentality last week, is now praising their mentality. Bro, it took one game from you to just say that Arsenal have Champions mentality. Last week, you're saying they're cowards. It just took 1 week. It's 1 week. Like one game. It took a set piece in the 96th minute.
I said that it was a cowardly approach against City, but people can't do match reactions anymore. Now, I don't know how to say this without sounding a little arrogant. The Football Terrace, by and large, has the biggest match reactions across social media because we do them from all the games. And even I find it and have to pull people back every show. Look, we're now going into the wider issues. Let's keep it on this game. Yes, the manager can be a coward in one match. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a coward in every game and they can't win the league. It's like this story. I've always said Arsenal can win the league this year. They're one of the favourites. My mind hasn't changed on Liverpool because of one bad game in the Prem. I just think it's too far. I still see Liverpool as the marginal favourites, as I did at the beginning of the season, but it's close. What I find interesting, and I think it's fair if Arsenal fans see themselves as the favourites or marginal favourites. There's no issue with either of those opinions. It's the last week Liverpool were clear and winning it, no chance Arsenal, to a week later, Arsenal were clear now, Liverpool got no chance. I push back against that narrative because I'm going to it's not really a shameless plug because it's a show on my own channel and so is this, but it's why I have my new series, Killing the Game. This kind of talk is killing football, or at the very least, killing the conversation around it, because it's one extreme to the other week after week. So for me, of course, Arsenal can win the league. The only reason I still have Liverpool as favourites is a lot of their squad have been there, done it, and worn the t-shirt. And I think that experience in the last 2 months of the season is massive. If Arsenal can create, though, a gap, my mind might change. But again, it's margins here. Margins, very fine.
You know what, Dan?
Terry and Laura, just because, Laura, did you say that you don't want Arsenal to be in a position like where they're being chased and you'd rather be top of the table?
No, I'd rather them be top of the table. I'd rather them be like build up some sort of lead.
Yeah,
like I don't think we're very good at either, to be honest. We've proven that we can't chase and we can't lead. Yeah.
22-23, obviously, I think you got the record for the amount of days spent at the top of the Prem that didn't win the league, right? I think it was like 250 days or something. What do you think Arteta's learned to prove that if Arsenal do get into that position and take advantage of, a bit of a mishap from Liverpool over these next few weeks, like, has he learned anything to do a better job there?
I think if I answer the inverse as to why I don't want Arsenal to be chasing, I think the reason that I would prefer Arsenal going into, I mean, obviously I'd rather them to, just like walk the league, but let's say we're going into kind of March, would I rather we were a couple of points ahead or behind? I think one of Arteta's probably worst habits that we've seen over the years is a stubbornness to kind of, when things get tight, really wrestle control, and kind of like his nervousness and his slightly cowardly approach translates onto the players. So if we're chasing, there tends to be a kind of like desperation. We need a goal, we need to win. I think that in this group of players is potentially disastrous. I think when Arsenal are best is when they are playing the type of football that they played the other night, again in the first half at Newcastle, where the pressure is off. I basically, in summary, I think Arteta can coach the kind of choking gene out of these players. I worry about what happens, how he coaches them to chase a title, basically. I would like to think that over the past 2 seasons, these players have developed a bit more of a backbone so that when we come to March, April, and we're ahead, they can just continue going. I really worry about what happens if we are 5-6 points behind.
People call him a choker, not the players.
Well, I guess they're one and the same, really.
And
it's not me. The media label him as this. Like the media do.
Mo, this brings on to my point, because Laura alluded to it earlier. Do I think Arsenal can win the league? Yes, but for me, the one person that will stop them is their manager. Yeah. This is why, because even for Liverpool, right, I think we've got a balance issue right now, but I don't think it gets any worse than this. Tom might beg to differ, but I actually think it doesn't get any worse than this. And the fact that we're still sitting top of the tree whilst playing badly, because I'm not going to be delusional, have we played badly in the majority of our games? Yeah, I've not sat there in any Liverpool game this season and been comfortable like, yet we're nailed on to win this. I've not, but yet we still sit top of the tree, right? I just feel like what Laura said, when it comes to the Marches, the Aprils, I think Arteta will just do something. It could even be, I don't know, his starting 11, or there could be a change that's to Arsenal's detriment, and then he's having to rectify it during the game, and it means they drop.
Can I ask you a question? When you say, did you say the only reason?
The main reason, shall I say?
The main. Okay, main change. Because my question is this. Couldn't Arteta and Arsenal be nigh on perfect? But if Wirtz and Ekitike and Isak all click and bang in loads of goals, and Slot and Liverpool are just slightly more perfect, could that also not be a reason? That's one of the reasons why sacking Mikel Arteta if he doesn't win the Prem. I understand why people say that as a broad sense. Don't we also have to assess how good or bad? Like if Liverpool are worse than last year, lose 2 or 3 more games, draw 2 or 3 more games, but still win the league, I think that's a massive.
So Terry, what you're alluding to
against Arteta. But what if you're in the end? What if you're 10 points better than last year, and you beat Arsenal to the league by a point? Would you still then?
So you're basically saying,
you get what I'm saying?
you're basically saying if it's another City and Liverpool title race where there's a point in it and both are basically now on perfect till the end of the season. Yeah, I do think it's a bit harsh, but I think the way that happens, Terry, is Arsenal, for me, have the best squad in the league. You could even say I don't think they have a better 11.
You think they're better than Liverpool? Okay.
No. I said they got a better squad than us. I think
better
our
than
11,
Liverpool's.
Yeah, better than Liverpool's, yeah. But I still think our 11 for their 11, I would still favour our 11 personally. But I think they've got more strength and depth than us, 100%. But I just feel in the run when it matters the most, Arteta will just do something to their detriment. It could be a change to their 11. It will just be something where he's having to rectify it during the game. You kind of already saw it, and I know some us fans might say he's learned from his mistakes early, but you saw it in the Liverpool game. You could even say you saw it in the City game where he didn't opt for an Eze in a 10 or maybe an Ethan in a 10 that probably would have put Arsenal in better stead. Because in my opinion, if he starts one of them against Liverpool and City, you could say they walk away with Anfield with a point, and I think they beat that City team. And then you look at the league.
But the reason I ask is my job as a host is to play devil's advocate. And as Jeremy here says, Terry, what we're doing here, you can say that every season Arteta has to cook. Look, I'm not saying I've been saying it for 2 years. I'm judging Arteta now purely on what he wins. I've ring-fenced the rebuild that he was part of for Arsenal. That's been done. The rebuild was fantastic. It's made them title contenders again. That is a gold star. I think it's disrespectful to attack that because it really did happen. It was real and it was needed. If you didn't build that foundation, the expectations now couldn't exist. That being said, I just like to challenge when people say and you didn't say the only reason, you said the main reason, but I just like to understand, because if someone, for instance, says the main reason they won't win it is Arteta, and then you also say that Liverpool and City squad's better than Arsenal's, that for me becomes slightly oxymoronic, where I go, well, it's not the only reason then, is it? If you think there's two squads that are better and at least one or two managers that are better, that makes Arsenal third favourites. Therefore, a better manager than Arteta could still fail to win the league. So I just like to ascertain what people mean by it. So I get where you were coming from there. And that's why we ask these questions.
The thing is, though, a lot of these title races now, the margins can be so thin that it's about, are you capitalising during your period of the season? Right now is probably Arsenal's period of the season. There is still a bit of unknown about Man City in this new style of play. For every game they look good, like United, there's a game like Brighton where they look open and you think you can get at them. With us, it's a case of we should be there, and if we don't get over the line this year, there rightfully should be a lot of questions asked. But right now, we do not look like a cohesive unit. We do not have a set style of play. We are having real trouble progressing the ball and building up and inviting too much pressure.
Do you think it gets worse than this? Do you genuinely think it gets worse than this?
But define worse than this. So I don't think we can play worse than we are now, but it can get worse than it if it carries on like this for another month. If we don't get out of this rut, it gets worse than this.
But I just back our manager to get it, because I think you would agree, we've just had a balance problem now. I don't think it's scoring goals. I think it's balance in terms of our defense / midfield. I actually have faith in our managers to tweak this. I think it's just a marginal tweak, and then I think we'll be fine. I think we'll start winning games, not just unbeaten runs. I think we'll start getting consecutive wins and points on the board, and then start to add that pressure on.
I would like to think so, Ron, but the fact is, the balance issue hasn't just suddenly randomly appeared out in the last two games.
It happened this summer for 300 million. You signed two players that realistically either one wasn't probably needed, it was almost greedy, and the other one doesn't really fit the system that won you a league.
Well, no, now we're going too far. But what?
No, it's not, Tom. How is that too far though? Because I'm not even doing that to try and wind you up. But I genuinely don't understand the need to recruit Isak and Ekatike, because I think profile-wise they're almost identical. You know, if you'd gone and got a different type of striker,
Isak was the main target this summer.
Okay, then I don't think you need to go and spend 90 million on Ekatike, because he's probably not going to be happy if he's not getting game time, and I don't think he's the type of striker that fits into a slightly different
ultimately
role.
Though, Dan, we didn't plan on buying Ekatike until Diogo Jota passed away, and then we had to go and get a second striker.
Yeah, but and probably no one really realised that Cheisa might be the guy that almost replicates what Jota did for you under Slot in the early days of this season. I think Chiesa's probably taken that role on more than anyone at Liverpool early doors. But I don't know if I can really say taking that role on, but you know what I mean by that. He's stepping up in moments. I think they're incredibly big shoes to fill, and Slot said that himself. But I think also I look at Florian Wirtz. I know we touched him right at the top of the show, but I don't see how he fits into that system. And I don't think you had a system that was broken that needed fixing. I'm not trying to wind you up here. I just think Liverpool have got it wrong signing two of the same player for a lot of money in Ekitike and Isak and a lot of money on a player. If you'd have bought a left wing that was capable of scoring 20, 30 goals in the season, we could see that he'd fit in and challenge Gakpo straight away. But we looked at that squad last season and that Liverpool team, we probably didn't think, all right, it needed a bit more creativity, but it probably didn't need to come from a 10 in a position for Liverpool that doesn't really exist. It either needed someone to come in as a striker that mimicked what Bobby did a few years ago, or it needed someone to come in that played a little bit deeper in midfield and could create.
Dan, I would have to disagree, though. I do believe we still needed that 10 because even from our fan base, there was many times, yes, Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch won us the league, but there was most of our fans were screening out for a 10 because as much as Szoboszlai would help the press with the Gakpo.
Yeah, but Rom's a 10 that plays as a 9 or a 10 that... Where does that fit into the system that won you the league last year?
The manager, I'll be honest.
I
don't think the manager wanted to play that system again. I don't think the
right,
manager.
Okay, so you think he's going to move away from it and sort
of
his width will come from
I think last year. No, I think right now his width and everything he's not fully set up. But in my mind, last year wasn't the football he wants to play. Last year was what is the best mix that I can do to maximize this team whilst getting some ideas across. So we've played relatively the same formation with relatively the same ideologies and a lot of things, but we tweaked a couple of slight things. Now he's made 6 signings, which we are supposed to believe are his signings. He's changed the formation and everything.
The club signings. Your club makes club signings.
Club signings based on what he wants. So he wanted a striker that does what Isak does. He gets a striker that does what Isak does. He wants a 10 that does what Wirtz does. He gets the 10 that does what Wirtz does. Ultimately, he's now changed the system alongside that. Everything has went because he wanted a new idea. I think that after that 3-game run of PSG twice and Newcastle was a thing where he went, right, this won't work long term. I need to change it up and go for my style of football and put more of my ideas on it.
See, for me, that would worry me massively because that was a massive criticism of Arteta that there was that game against West Ham and that game against Liverpool in that first title run turned him into this overly negative manager, and that's why Arsenal haven't won the league. My fear, if I was a Liverpool fan, if what you're saying is true, is that one bad result, by the way, in a game, that if it hadn't been for Donnarumma, you would have won, right? To change everything, or to change so much, everything's a bit exaggerated, to change so much because Donnarumma made good saves, that would scare the living daylights out of me, personally. Because Donnarumma was the only reason. You put in a less capable goalkeeper than Donnarumma, you probably win the game over those 2 legs, So, look, there's just somebody.
No, but can I interject for like 30 seconds? 30 seconds, guys. You know why it doesn't work that last season? Okay,
even 3
seconds
minutes
on the clock. Okay, do you know why Tom is right and it doesn't work last season then? Because you cannot rely on Mohamed Salah having a historic season again. He needed the creativity to come from someone else. Mohamed Salah was up there in chances created, assists and everything. Below him was, I think, Szoboszlai was like 20-something in the league, while Chelsea has 2 in that top 10. Man United had 1. Brentford had 1. They needed to change the system then. The creativity had to come from somebody, because if they did the same system and Mohamed Salah didn't bang 47 GA, they wouldn't win anything.
Could you not do it in a sense?
Dan, Slot actually called out Szoboszlai a couple
30
times
seconds, you fraud.
saying that he needs to improve his numbers and whatnot.
I'm not sure. I reckon you could debate for a whole nother show on this whole discussion around Liverpool and Slot and whether or not he needs to change tactics. But I would just
he
like
needs
to add,
then, right? He needs
to.
Because
No,
I'm
not necessarily sure. I'm not necessarily sure he did. And I think there's a number of managers now that come with a systematic approach, and they're so focused on getting to their system that on the way to their system, I actually think they find the perfect mix between the 2 systems. And they're so focused on getting to their system, they almost overlook it at times. And I'm worried. I'm slightly concerned Slot might have done that. I think Maresca did that in his very early days at Chelsea too.
My lovely grandmother, always full of wisdom, she always gave me this advice about the fairer sex. So when you're looking for a young lady, Terry, always go for what you need and not what you want, because it always works out better in the end. She also said, My nan also said, avoid those hoes in the club. No, she didn't say that. She didn't say that. She wasn't a fan. If me and my brothers ever said, I met a girl, where'd you meet her? In this club or in this bar? She'd always look at us with her evangelical eyes and be like, oh, sorry.
Did you get told you won't find a wife in a club or something?
My nan just wasn't. My nan weren't a fan. Like, my nan was very prim and proper and religious. It broke her heart when my 15-year-old brother came home to say, "Mum, but now my girlfriend's pregnant." that was a mad day. Do you know the worst bit about that was, right? The worst bit about that day, and it will live with me to the day I die, is the first thing my old man turned around and said. I'm not going to say which of my brothers it was. He went, "Fucking hell, bleep. I thought it was going to be Terry that did this." I was like, why am I taking strays? I was 13, 14 at the time. I was like, you know what I mean? I was still fresh and innocent, wet behind the ears. It's the only place that was getting wet. Right, here we go at that age. But here we go. Not getting Gahey will come back to bite Liverpool.
You're assuming injuries, Shane, right? Like, people live and assume that someone will get injured. They're like, is that what you're assuming, Shane? I want a clarification for this.
This works right now, though, Mum. This works right now, because the problem we have is we have very few, if any, progressive passes from deep. Mark Gahey is fantastic at passing from deep, as I had to see every single time. He played a perfect 40-yard ball up to Mateta, and then I had to watch Canate pass it 3 yards into Yeremy Pino and then have to run back because he can't pass. So the fact that we lack these progressive passes, Gahey would have brought me that.
Fair enough.
Do you agree with the super? Do you agree with the super chat here? It says one Salah or VVD injury, and it could be much worse, my friend. Do you think Liverpool season could fall off if one of these two picked up a big bad injury? Touching wood, doesn't happen.
If Van Dijk, if it happens,
since when is your name Tom?
Yeah. No, go ahead. No. I don't wish for players to get injured, obviously. But I do think, I mean, a Salah one, I mean, he's not having a great season already, but I think a VVD injury would be a big, big problem. I think that really could be where it is kind of off a cliff type thing.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
The Van Dijk want to kill us now because we've only got two centre-backs. We'd only have two centre-backs left. And the fucking Gomez and Canard, you were both injury prone.
James Sosa here says 22-23, Saliba got injured, and we have the depth now. That is true with Arsenal now. I mean, the depth is so different. I mean, imagine you weren't bringing on Rob Holding and you were bringing on someone of Mosquera's level back then. Again, it just could have ended very, very differently. Slot has won, but hasn't done it in April and May when the pressure is on too. Last year, it was won with no pressure. Similar argument turned around. So
that's a fair point. And that's when I lean on my players that have won the league, McAllister's with World Cups. That's when I think they get us over the line. Did he win a fair point.
Sorry. Did he win the league in Holland? The Netherlands, sorry.
Yeah.
He won the league.
So he has won them. I do think that helps when you've done it elsewhere as well.
Ten Hag did it, man.
This is from Chike. Sorry, I coughed then. He says, Terry. I love Chike, my bro. He's very generous to the terrace. I love him for it. He says, he says he struggles with girls, yet his profile picture is him surrounded by beautiful women. It's like, well, what's going on here? He says it's been a while. What's your advice about someone who wants to cover a sport like the NFL? Because where I live in the US, it's the most popular sport in the world. In the US, not in the world. You're not world champions, and I think right, we'll pull that down. But after graduating from college this past May, thanks. Look, I don't know what it depends how you want to cover the sport, because if you want to be a journalist and you've got the qualifications because you've graduated, you're going to reach out to as many of these companies as you can, but you need to try and do something different. So don't do what she did, but there's an MMA journalist called Nina. I forget her surname. I do follow her. I'm going to find her here because you can't do the dancing and posing she does. But she's a massive, again, it's not even that mad, but she's a massive MMA journalist. And she contacted Dana White and the MMA world. And she said, look, I've got these ideas about how to make content a little bit different. We want to interview the fighters, but it's going to be fun and quirky as an example. And she did this whole series where she would ask them really awkward questions, but they would ask her back. And you've probably all seen a meme where Tom Aspinall turns round to her when being interviewed and says, have you ever been fingered by an MMA fighter? And when you just watch it out of context, it looks horrendous. But when you watch the series, you understand that him asking her that question isn't mad. The reason I use her as an example is I'm not suggesting you should do what she did, but maybe think of something outside the box. Think of what isn't being done in that space yet. We've got a young lady on this show, Laura, who's done that exact same thing in the content creation world. Makes very funny, very smart, satirical, funny videos about football. Also knows her ball as well and can talk about it at longer length, but has done something different. And that's how you open doors for yourself. So if you just, and it's like my advice to YouTubers, if you're going to start a YouTube channel about Man United that does watch-alongs and match previews and has a fan forum show, you know, and you just copy what Mark Goldbridge does, the likelihood of you getting a fraction of that success is low because he's done it and he's the GOAT and 25 other people have already copied his ideas. If you're an Arsenal fan, I want to start an Arsenal channel. What are you going to do? You know, we're going to do fan cams outside the ground and we're going to blame the rain. Like AFTV has already done this. It isn't going to work. You do now need to start thinking about something innovative and different. What can you bring to the world of NFL, which is different to what anybody else is doing? Think in an innovative way, and that is the fast track to success. There's a great example in football. The young man who started, I'm so glad to see someone do something fresh. I did DM him, see if he's interested in coming on. He's on big shows. He ain't interested in the terrace, but big him up. The HMRC podcast, where he just rips into pro footballers' stories that aren't true. The reason he's blown up quickly is he hasn't gone, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live after United lose and I'm going to rant and I'm just going to say all the same things that Saeed and Mark and Terry and Rants do. It's not going to work now because there's already, the market's saturated. He's thought of something different and gone, I'm going to do this. So that's my advice. Do something different. Don't copy what's already working and established because it's already working and established. So yeah, that's my advice to you, my friend. Hope that makes sense. Thank you for the super chat as well, brother. I wish Tom could talk dirty about Canate. Oh, sorry, could talk to Drifty about Canate. Sorry,
incredible Freudian slip. Incredible.
That was. It's I don't know why. Do you know what? I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I said that.
Talking about fingering, Terry. That's what it is.
I think the art of that disappeared, hasn't it? You don't hear about that anymore. It's just gone.
Drifty this morning said that he thinks Konate is above Saliba and Gabriel.
Oh, listen, me and Drifty go way, way back from before. We go so far back as content creators. The word content creator and influencer didn't exist in the context of what they are now. That's how old school we are. We both had hair. He no longer has hair. I lost it, grew it back with some special help from a doctor. But yes, that's a crazy take. What manager can Arsenal realistically hire that's better? I think this debate is just crazy. There are managers that are better in the world, but it's about finding one. And we may not all have the names for them, but at some point there is going to be a need to replace him. Because I will say this now about Arsenal. Arsenal won't fall off a cliff if Mikel Arteta isn't there anymore. You've got to think more of your club than that. But I don't think he's got to go at this particular moment in time. Arsenal invested in stability in all aspects. Do you agree with that, Laura? Do you feel like Arsenal in the last 5-6 years have become a far more stable club, top to bottom, inside out?
Yeah, but I think a lot of that comes down to the ownership and also the manager. They have opted for a model whereby they have kind of focused and put all their efforts around retaining one manager. So if you look at, how he went into replacing Wenger, obviously he made potentially a bit of a mistake in Unai Emery that didn't work out, but then Arteta's come in, and I think a lot of the rest of the club has also been around that. So some of the appointments into the board have been around building a very, very stable commercial arm to the club as well. So a couple of years ago when Arsenal hired Juliette Slot, so she's the commercial director, she is an absolute sort of heavyweight in the sports marketing world. So everything around the club, from not only the kind of the investment in the squad, the investment in the manager, the narrative that comes out of the ownership about Arsenal being important in their portfolio of sports that they have, suggests a kind of long-term view. And I think there's been elements of that where it's been frustrating as a fan. I think if you go back to January, for example, we were crying out for a striker. And I think a lot of the fan base were going, we're in the title race, we've got a good opportunity, go and get someone to get us over the line. Whereas the club have obviously looked at that and gone, we will wait to the summer to find the right personnel to bring in. So I agree. I think Arsenal have invested for stability. I think some of the fan base, that's not particularly sexy and exciting. You know, stability has also equaled coming second 3 times in a row. But on balance, would we prefer that to where the likes of Man United are, etc. Chelsea.
God, yes.
You know, it's really the kind of lesser of many.
I agree with you
evils.
on that. I just want to say as well, by the way, everyone that's watching this currently on Twitter, the Twitter feed's about to end now, so the link is in the feed whilst we're live. So come and join us right now on YouTube to continue that conversation. So I'll give you like 10 seconds because there's a slight delay from when I say this to when you'll hear it. But click on the link now. The YouTube link is there on Twitter. Come join us now on YouTube to continue this conversation.
That's the funny thing about stability with football fans. Where it's cycles. So when you're crap, well, you're after stability. I just want my football club to be stable and grow. And then once you've done that and you're now a stable, growing thing, you sit there and go, why aren't we doing more? Why aren't we doing the things that made us unstable and unstable in the first place? Why aren't we ruining the stability that we just built over 10 years by spending loads of money and doing this and doing that? It's funny to see because that's what like some Arsenal fans are saying when they want to sack Arteta. You've built yourself up to that point. See it out. Don't cut your nose off to spite your face before it's scored.
I'll tell you the good thing about today's show, though, is we had such great debates on the other 2 subjects. We have run out of time to go into the Man United conversation, which I can't lie, I'm so happy about because I'm about to go and do an hour on this subject on the United stand. So I'm very, 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 very happy indeed. But the question was, would Glasner be mad to leave Palace for United?
Yes.
I think there's so much. I think there is a lot of there's validity in it. There is validity in it. I agree. I do agree. I'm not deluded. I think this here for you, Mo, says Mo, where is Timber in the full back pecking order in the Prem?
Right back now, I can't think of anyone better currently in the Premier League apart from Reece James when he's fit. To be honest, just Reece James. When Reece James plays, he's amazing. Like Reece James is freaking phenomenal footballer.
This here says we are winning the quad. Come on, you gooners, is what the Gunner Edge says here. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if after all the banter Arsenal get, they go and complete football first? They're the first English team to do it.
How annoying we'd be! I would unlock new.
I think I wouldn't show up to anywhere ever again if that happens. Honestly,
like Gal would shoot about 3. He'd become about 6'6". He'd become 6'6" overnight. He would. But I'll be loving it. But what a lone season that would be for me. It means in my life I'd have witnessed a treble and a quad. You know, it's funny really because when I did that video that's still famous now, really, the Arsenal Scare Me video, I still stand by everything I said in that video. It's all come true as well. I get so much stick for it, but everything I said has actually come true. I only said you become title contenders. I never said you'd win the league in that video. But I remember all season, it's terrible. If we do win it, you've got to come to the parade. You'll be welcome. And I was like, I'll troll people that hate me online a little bit and the Arteta outers and stuff. But I was like, I wouldn't be going to the parade. But then part of me was like, it would be quite cool actually to be there as a rival and actually get a decent reception from a percentage of the audience. It'd be quite nice. I actually think I'd get a better reception than some Arsenal content creators, if I'm being honest. I do think I'd go down a little bit better.
Hopefully, for your sake, your loan spell is better than mine. Because Tom will remember my loan spell over there. It wasn't the best. It ended in
misery. You went on loan to Arsenal as well, did you? Didn't work out.
Seasons ago. According to Tom and Colleen and all of the rest, according to
there's a season when he went to Emirates more than he went Anfield.
Well, I'm not actually going to games or buying shirts or anything. It is a joke, but someone take it that way.
Every other week I'd refresh my Twitter and Roms is at the Arsenal game. Sitting there going, what's going on here?
I did go though to an Arsenal. The only time I've ever been to an Arsenal game at the Emirates. I went to a Legends game because a friend of mine had tickets for a box because he works for ITV. The only other game I went to, I think you played Chelsea. You drew 1-1. Gilberto scored, but we needed Arsenal. Man United needed Arsenal to draw or beat with Chelsea to win us the league, and you did, and it was very. And I was sitting there, and the bloke I was sitting next to knew I was a United fan because who I got the season ticket from, and he said, "Just don't cheer. He said cheer if we score, but don't let anyone know." Because he said you can cheer because obviously you want the goal to go in. So I did join in with the cheers because it was good. But he said, "Don't let anyone here know." The worst one I ever did was Tottenham away. Well, Tottenham at home. I was in the home stand, and it was a very naughty end of Tottenham, and they played United, and they were beating us 3-0. And I had to join in with the cheering because my mate said they will know you're not Tottenham if you don't join in with the because they're quite diehard. And they got the 3-0. I was like, yeah, this is great. Fuck the Manx. I need a piss, boys. I left. I was like, I can't do it anymore. I had to leave. I was a bit scared as well. It was a bit of a mad environment. But look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. I'm live on the United Stand at 8 p.m. So if you're a United fan, you want to come across and join us, great. But this is going to redirect you to Footy Judge Mo's channel. So go and support my brother over there for that for his channel. Go and do that. Thank you, Dan, Tom. Of course, Double A was here earlier. Roms is back on the show. And Laura, fantastic debut on the Football Terrace. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it massively. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.